the meeting to order at 7:03, and I'm gonna go off book, and I'm gonna say welcome to Dan, newest, newly minted trustee. Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
If you have it, I'll give you the floor if you have anything you want to say. If we just want to get going, we can do that too.
No, we might as well just.
All right, excellent, very good. First item on the agenda is acceptance of the secretary's reports. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, discussion of the secretary's reports.
Hey, Emily. Hello.
So sorry.
Very simplified.
All right, hearing no comments or questions on the secretary's report, I will we'll go around roll call vote on the motion to accept the secretary's report. Susan?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Laura? Dan?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That is unanimously passed. Next item on the agenda, acceptance of monthly staff reports. Is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Kevin, you're concerned about drop-offs in the boxes, sustainability. Yeah. Completely agree with worrying about what goes in there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but if I hesitate, just say no. Because we do other things that we let them leave the box for, so. I don't like the idea of making a risk. And those boxes are there overnight and everything, so.
Don't like the idea there in general,
Yeah.
dropping things off outside the building, I think a little bit better, just
Yeah.
random drop-off boxes.
I work at a defense contractor, and we stopped doing it for the exact same reason. So I don't think there's any reason that a library should be taking on that risk. I mean, I'm all for recycling batteries, I think it's terrific, but it needs to be in the right place.
Right. Okay, good.
So thank you.
I had a question here about the bargaining sessions between the librarians union and the town. Is there, could you just describe a little bit of what the issues might be?
So they have a union contract that runs every 3 years, and it was up for negotiation. And that happens with the town.
Sure.
Steve Mayo and HR, Amy Forziati, work with that. I represent the Board of Trustees, and those were completed. There's usually not a lot. I'll get you a copy of the contract, and then the new contract you'll get. There's a binder an electronic binder that I give to all the trustees. We'll update that, and all trustees will get it again this year, so you'll get all those things. But it's,
3 years up,
this July.
this July.
So it's gonna go in, that contract was just settled, and it will go in as an article for, the money to fund that. It's for 21 people, will go in as an article on, town meeting. Yeah.
And that was just approved at town council.
Town council the other night, yeah, Monday night, they just approved it.
Thank you.
And this is Scott.
Hello, sorry I'm late. I apologize.
Scott, this is Dan, our new
Dan Flory.
trustee.
Nice to meet you, Dan. Hope to meet you in person next month.
So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
One of the things that I watched the town council meeting the other night, and they were discussing the library, and it passed easily. But Steve Mayo made a comment loosely about how he used to come here with his grandkids, or comes now with his grandkids, just comes with his kids, and doesn't recognize anyone anymore. And as I'm reading the director's report, it's talking about new names, and we've had so much turnover recently, and I know the average age of the employees what's, not average age, but average length of
Service.
service unchanged. Could we do something like social media wise, maybe on Facebook, like a meet the staff, like a weekly
It's
bio
funny,
or
'cause
something?
I was thinking
We
about
did
that
do
today.
that, when did we do that? I can see the pictures.
Yeah, because I'm in the Celtic, actually. If somebody made,
It was last
like,
summer.
somebody made baseball cards of all the staff members. And we put our favorite things and little statistics about ourselves. All of that about the staff being relatively new is gonna be incorporated into the new strategic plan. Staffing is gonna be a big component of it, because we're losing institutional knowledge. Expectations are different, expectations of the public are different. So as we get into looking at the data we collected and speaking with the existing staff, which sometimes we're looking at something and we're like, what? I met with everybody one-on-one, individually in a room, not a group, but one-on-one. And the conversations were really interesting, because we just don't see the world the same way. And when I was able to talk to individual people, I would say, well, this is what I meant when I said that, this is my perspective. And then they would tell me their perspective. And so at least we know, it makes it kind of complicated because there's, 20 people and I can't communicate with them each in every single way but I have a better idea and they have a better idea of where I come from. So something that I think of as condescending, they may see as that I'm either cold or not responsive, that I'm not. And one staff member even said to me, I'm the generation that got a trophy for showing up. So when you don't say I did a good job, I'm worried that maybe I haven't done a good job, whereas I'm thinking, that's condescending. I hired you, of course you're doing a good job.
No news is good news.
Yeah, so we just need to know where each person's coming from, and it's gonna be a little bit of work for everybody. And the culture of the building and what is librarianship, what does the public expect? It's all really different. So it's gonna be a lot of work there, and we're gonna have to do it. And for the public to get to know, I was walking by the desk today and somebody said to the person there, I know you're not Karen. And she said, no, I'm not Karen, and I can't even remember who it was, the woman from Melrose. It was bad, yeah. And it crossed my mind, I wonder if she wants a name tag. So, yeah, we're gonna have to.
We could do just some names and faces,
How would you feel about name tags?
What?
How would you feel about name tags?
That's always a question. In all the time I've been here, there have always been a significant group of staff who did not want them. Some people didn't feel safe with them,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
which didn't really make sense to me because that's the least of your problems. I don't know whether or not somebody knows your name is.
No,
We shouldn't lead with that in the job listings.
I know.
But even just a first name.
Just a first name.
Yeah.
That was what I was thinking
Like,
about.
this is Ariel, this is Marianne.
I guess it's social
Yeah.
media campaign being maybe a little, people might not want that much information.
Yeah.
Someplace where we can spread more easily.
Yeah,
Well,
I've seen
it's-
other libraries do it, and it can be friendly and.
Because we've talked in the past too about keeping the Facebook pages a little lighter, you don't want,
Yeah.
you don't want divisive topics coming up on the library Facebook page. So
Right.
something like that would just be a little easy, once a week.
And if you miss it, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
like I don't like things on Facebook that, that's where you have to find out about something.
No,
Because, it would be very, I think a lot of people would like it.
it would give you
Yeah,
20 weeks worth of posts for the next,
and the staff would probably like it. Yeah, some of them, so they could,
Be
just like,
optional.
they could decide, yeah,
Yeah,
if
if
they
they
wanna
don't
do it.
But I read some of the names in here, and I have no idea who that person is.
I know.
Can I ask a question about the name tags are different? So how, it's something we think about a lot is like if there's an emergency, how are you going to differentiate who's staff and who's not staff in that situation, right? For us, it's different, like, we need to know who the adults that are taking care of kids are versus who the adults that shouldn't be there are. But in an emergency situation, how, I mean, the person standing behind the desk, they're probably staff, right? But that's where like a name tag or like even like a badge, even if it doesn't, like that's where that could be really useful. Again, hopefully you never have an emergency and you never have to use it, but
So you're saying it would be useful for the patrons to know who the staff member was?
I'm not saying that I know what the solution would be. I'm saying that I think something to think about is in an emergency situation, it's often you need to know who's actually in charge and who's not. And I think some sort of, you guys don't wear uniforms, right? So, you know, librarians all have red aprons on. So having a way to especially with so many staff are new and we don't all just know, oh, I know that's the librarian that I've known for a while. So just something to think about as a reason to do name tags. That's not just because I want to know your name,
Right.
but that it's that little bit of badge of like, no, I belong here. If the police walk in, they know, oh, this person looks like they actually work
That
here.
I'm staff, yeah.
We help with younger patrons as well too, trying to
Yeah.
get lost from their parents or,
They know who to go to.
Like Mr. Rogers would say, find the helpers.
Yeah,
Even if they didn't want the names, I mean, I'd love to see even just first names, but something like a V pin or something, like some sort of,
Recognition.
staff.
like you said, like a badge of
Yeah.
some
Well,
sort,
but to your point though,
or a lanyard.
not that, you know, we don't, if a kid walks up to a random member of the public, we don't know that that's a safe interaction, right? Versus knowing, hey, see these
Right.
people with the BB badges on, those are the people who can help you find your parents if you're lost in the
Right.
So
Find the helpers.
I don't wanna think about the worst case scenarios and everything, but that's a reason to implement
Yeah.
name tags that is not just because I don't know the name of the person behind the desk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a
you-
good way to look at it.
So you went to visit the soundproof booth. So what's, is that a good possibility of us getting it? What did you think? Pros and cons? What was
Not
your
that
impression? Oh, not that one?
not that one. It's like a coffin.
It was tight, it was really
You
tight.
leaned down.
No, but it's so.
Yeah, I was glad we went in. We're thinking about soundproof booths for the second floor, because people want private space
For
to
the
take,
carols.
instead of a carol, so take some of the carols away and put up these booths. They've become more complicated than I ever imagined. There are so many, there's so many questions that we would have to have answered. We'll just get answers, but I don't know if you noticed, the whisper room actually has sprinkler system. So that was something that I never thought about before.
So these individual booths have a sprinkler system?
So
Yeah.
you know, if you,
Interesting.
if we have people use this room, they sign in, they sign up for it, they have a certain amount of time, we know who's responsible for the room. The room is locked, so people can't come in and just, you know, so how are you gonna manage the booths that way? And one of the booths we were looking at, the sales rep said, we don't have locks on them because they're safety hazards. And we kind of think it's also a safety hazard to not have a lock on it. So then we were thinking about, well, what other options do we have to watch them? And
So are they common around here? Does anyone else have them besides Reading or?
they seem to be fairly common, but I don't know that people
Thought it through?
thought it through. They're, because they look like they've been dropped at places that they don't belong.
Yeah.
Like, we were thinking it would really look like it belonged there if we got the right color, and some of them are totally clear on both sides, so you'd see through, it would let the light through. But we have window coverings there you could pull if it got too hot, you know, but they have their own air. And Jackie had asked one person, you know, how do you clean that? Does it have a filter, or what do you have to do? And they didn't really answer the question, so we don't know what the maintenance is. We don't know if we have to put it together. That's another thing, they don't all get, there's lots of little questions there. And I don't wanna buy one without actually getting in it,
Yeah.
cause there was one,
And obviously you didn't get in the one in Reading.
I went into the
Did you
room
do?
ready and I was like, no, I don't like this. but there was one, the woman who had crossed her legs and she couldn't get her leg under the desk. I don't know, was that in Norwood or someplace? That one of the librarians took a picture of herself in it, and it's a little desk, and she's sitting there, and she crossed her leg, maybe to show how tight it was. And I said to Jackie, because it was a relatively small woman, I said, if you went in there in your high heels, your legs wouldn't get under that desk. And I know that because I always have trouble with my legs. Both of us have our drawers out of my desk. We don't even fit in our desks, our regular desks. So, yeah, we're gonna have to investigate it. The ones we were looking at today are, there are a couple in Boston. Near the Children's Museum.
They have a showroom.
They have a showroom, so we could go to the showroom.
So, like everything, easier said than done.
It's, yeah. A whole lot of projects like that. Got somebody coming on Tuesday to look at the marquee. Yeah.
How much outcry is there for this? How much demand is there for this?
It's growing, yeah,
Really?
growing demand, yeah, because,
The regular users of these carols now, is that who's doing?
no, it's people who are not using the carols because they need private space. Yeah,
For a Zoom meeting or some kind of telecom, right?
yeah, or it's private information and it's on a phone so that you can hear it. Like the headphones are not enough. The carols along this route here still get used by people who study,
Sure.
but anybody who wants to use a phone is looking for private space, and there's just more of those people.
I think part of it is getting ahead of the curve for what our patrons are gonna need.
Yeah,
Sure, if you have need potentially for almost a private meeting space, which everyone really does now,
yeah.
and we should have that, but
A real room would be preferable, but because there's no space for a room,
so
this is a good alternative.
are these $1,000, $10,000, somewhere in between?
It goes between they go between 6 and 9 maybe. The ones today, were they about 9,000?
I mean, it's
And they were.
with the MAC.
And they were on contract 45% off, and they were still 8 or
But
9
there's also
thousand.
plumbing and electric, should we do for these?
No,
I thought they needed sprinklers.
you can't well, yeah, if you had to do sprinklers, you would, but there's only one that said that, and I don't know if our sprinkler system would cover that situation.
Would that be a town thing?
I'd have to ask the town about that.
Building code?
Yeah, I'd have to ask the town about
The
it.
whisper room that we have, it's not, you don't have to hardwire it or anything, it's like this, you just run.
It plugs in.
Plugs in or not.
Plugs in.
Yeah, and where the carols are, there are outlets on the floor already, and there's internet there. So it's just a matter of setting it up and all the infrastructure's there.
You do have to build it yourself, that's the fun part.
Yeah, this one, they said they could get us someone to do it, but it would be an additional cost. The advantage to having someone else do it is whether or not you can pin responsibility on them.
Always.
You know, if we're putting it together and then something's wrong and they say, oh no, you paid for it, it's yours, you know, I don't wanna be in that
No, thank you.
position. Yeah, we need to get what we paid for, so. Still under investigation. We don't wanna take too long, cause people really need it.
But it's an investment, not even just the price of like shifting the space and doing all that, you have to make them.
Yeah, it's an investment.
How many were you thinking about getting?
2. Which would fit in that footprint. Because you've gotta get around it for ADA reasons, and there is an ADA component to this, is that they are not handicapped accessible. Especially, I was uncomfortable with it, so
Yeah.
certain people aren't gonna be able to use it. But we would make this room available to somebody who wanted to use that and couldn't. This would be the ADA option. It's just, this room isn't gonna work for everybody who needs it because there's just too many people.
Right.
So if most people had access to that, and then the few people who couldn't use that could use this room.
Our conference room policy stipulates that if you're reserving the room, it has to be for available to the public.
Right.
You can't have a closed meeting in any of our conference rooms.
So we would have to adjust that, yeah. Because the private meetings those are closed.
Well, that's,
Those-
the whole-
That's
the whole
what it's
point,
for,
right.
that's the whole point, is that that's what people need.
Yep. No.
So,
Thank you, Catherine, for the email about the voice over IP headsets that I was poking at last month. I appreciate the follow-up. I wish I knew enough about networking to have unlocked that issue for you, but it does seem like buying the modern equipment is probably the
I think it's gonna be, I think that's the way to do it. And I spoke with Todd this week, and the phones are in and they are programming them. And once they get programmed, they'll send them over.
Very good.
So that will be not too much longer, hopefully.
Fun note, I love the puzzle event.
Yeah, I agree.
So I remember seeing the promotion for that, and seeing how many people participated, what a great, and then everything, want to take, checking out puzzles, that's what a great.
And it was an easy thing to try, you don't lose anything by trying it, yeah. That was on social media too, pictures went on for that, so that's a.
I think that's a great idea, a great little contest and a great event.
That's a new librarian,
Perspectives.
new perspectives, new ideas, yeah.
We would have never thought of a team putting a puzzle together and having.
competitive puzzling, yeah.
The
Competitive puzzle.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's just outstanding.
It is.
Right.
It's great.
When's that next fundraiser?
During Blossom.
Yeah,
Impressed with the turnout for the archives, personal archiving, your photos and was it Discover Organizing Story Memories? 43 people for the photos one, seems like a really strong turnout.
That was pretty good, she was here last year too, and got equally strong turnout.
When do we, is it next month when we get the summer reading?
Yeah.
Will they be ready next month? I'll be sure.
They actually probably could do it next month,
Yeah.
they would be ready.
Yeah, they're a little ahead of the game this year. Yeah, they have a full staff now.
What is a full staff? 21?
25 is full.
I mean, including us, the custodians.
Yeah.
Actually, technically 26.
Right, 21 is the number Steve kept saying, because that's the number that's in the union.
I think it-
Custodians are not part of that union, right?
They are,
Oh, they are,
Yeah.
just you two, no, just you?
And
me,
me and Stephanie.
and Stephanie, admin is, and it's
And we
not.
had one vacancy, but they were negotiating.
Okay, anything else? Alright, hearing none, I will, I'll go around the room to vote on the motion to accept the staff reports. Susan?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Lou, Scott?
You did.
Okay, well, I'm a yes, that passes unanimously. Moving on to public participation. Seeing none, we'll move on to correspondence. I don't recall any in the packet.
There's a little free at the bottom there.
Oh, wait,
Could just be Scott's not on video.
Can I touch it and see what happens?
I would think that would be the people on.
No, I guess.
Oh,
Wait.
there's Scott.
Yeah,
Oh, there he
it's
is.
Scott.
oh, hey,
Sorry,
here you
sorry, Bryce isn't home, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Not to laugh at your crisis.
I don't
No,
know.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, you're right.
I apologize.
Oh, quite all right. So there was,
You picked up not to laugh at your breakfast, it said.
It's not perfect.
there's no correspondence in the packet, anything we should be aware of?
No correspondence.
Okay, on to committee reports, budget. I saw that we got the remainder of our state aid, the second half of the
We
payment.
did. Got the second half of the state aid, and in the budget list, I added the cherry sheet number for next year's state aid, which is nice, over 68,000, but a little less than last year. That number will change, but right now, looks nice.
Very good.
I don't think there's anything else. Town meeting will be the vote on the budget that has already been approved and the article that includes the librarians.
Under capital outlay, I don't know if it's just a typo. The total capital outlay, you got roof, DPW for roof, and then the total is 10,000 more than that.
Oh, you know why, I hit a column. There's $10,000 from last year that was for the investigation of the stairs. And that was our capital outlay money, but the town took it, the DPW took it. And because we didn't need it, because they did the work and then they didn't even have to do the work, it didn't have to be investigated. So they took the money for our masonry, so if we needed things, and they've covered some masonry for us. So that's why it says the 143,000.
Okay.
The extra 10,000 had been approved, but that was last year's money,
So
so I should actually take that out.
that money's been spent essentially, even though we may be holding on to it, it's been spent elsewhere, it's gonna go back to the town, everything's gonna wash out, is that?
Yes, and like the $3,000 for the roof, that extra $3,000, the DPW gave us that from their budget.
Okay.
So the money's kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit, but
Yeah, it's a weird boundary anyway between, capital planning and the building committee and our own upkeep of the
and
building.
the DPW,
Right.
so, yeah.
I sit on the capital committee too, so I've seen the allocation for this year, which includes the stairs
Yes,
finally and completely, I hope.
70,000, I think,
Right.
yeah.
It's not that I'm here, I have to absent myself from the vote.
Right.
I can still be in the discussion.
Right,
That's great
that's
information,
gonna be
thank you.
helpful, yeah.
Yeah, I did, as I was walking up the front today, I thought this is probably the worst condition I've seen the stairs in.
They're really stuck.
Usually you get them repointed and then I think because they're gonna get repaired, they haven't been
They
repointed in a
were
while.
repointed,
Is
Dave repointed them himself. They're just moved so much that it doesn't,
Yeah.
it crumbles, it doesn't last.
They've deferred it a few times
Yeah.
in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Any kind of active repair, the steps themselves, the granite, et cetera. So it's
Yeah.
time.
Do we have a time frame yet on when that's gonna happen?
No,
It would have to start after September, I think.
We talked about
well, it has to be after
October.
it has to be after July, but I thought maybe September or October because of Plaza Jazz.
Yes.
But I haven't, I don't know
So
what
you
else
gotta,
they
you
have
gotta
going on
squeeze
in
it in
town.
between Plaza Jazz and your pumpkin festival.
And I also,
Yeah.
I know
And the
pumpkins too, and I also have to figure out how DPW wants that done. Like the public purchasing aspect of it is way more complicated than what I'm used to, that has to go up to date and everything, and I have to talk to Joe about that, so that takes extra time.
Okay, sounds like we have some time to kill anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just wanna poke at a couple of items that are pacing personal services, HVAC,
Are we looking at the budget?
we're looking at, the operating budget status.
Okay.
HVAC's at 85%, it's not a lot hotter than,
Oh, that's the repair and maintenance HVAC. That 85%,
Okay,
that's
so that's-
repair and maintenance. So when we have the money, well, sometimes we just have to do it.
right,
But when I have money there too, I'll do extra things that
Yeah.
need to be done.
yeah, absolutely.
So that will get spent one way or another.
And then the network services is the same thing.
Yes, we have another bill left.
All right, this. All right, that's a separate.
It looks
Okay.
like there's a lot left for April, but actually that will all be spent probably by your May meeting. Most of that will be gone.
A lot of these are spiky step functions, so. Okay. Anything else for budget? Okay. I'll move on to building and grounds.
Just connected to budgets.
Yep, we just talked about the
Stairs.
stairs. Now that the roof's done, we immediately turn to the next burning platform.
We're gonna have some more roof work done.
Okay,
Outside these windows leaks, and that's where the seam is in the
Yeah.
two buildings. So exactly what they did on this new job, they're just gonna extend it right there. And we can cover that within our budget,
that's excellent.
we have money for that, so, that's been scheduled. And what else was happening in March, in May? Oh, something's gonna be upholstered. What?
Circular fiction.
Yes, that banquette thing in fiction, that's gonna be upholstered. It's got holes in it now, let that go too long. And the phones are coming. That will come out of our budget too. What else?
Wasn't the signage, so
That got done. All the signs, so, and you know, you don't really notice, and I'm so proud of that project. The book signs, it took us a year and a half. That project went on and on and on. But you cannot tell what signs are from 2000 and what signs were just replaced. They look so much alike.
Right.
But they lead to the right places. They don't say the wrong things anymore. Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a lot of work to make it look like nothing happened.
Yeah, they did a nice job.
Okay. Anything else building and grounds?
I don't think so.
Friends? Anyone been to a Friends meeting recently?
Clarify the point from, can I clarify something from the March Friends meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't at the March library meeting, I know there was, and I didn't give a notice to Catherine, and then when I was watching the meeting over the weekend, I was like, oh, I wish I could just jump into this meeting from a month ago and just clarify what I meant in my note, but I think I made the point about the friends talking about the book sale as both primarily a fundraising event for the library, but also a community event. It wasn't like they were trying to clarify what I meant to say, it was like the primary purpose of the book sale is to raise money for the library. It also happens to be a
However, they
community.
also perceive it,
Well, yeah, they perceive it as it's because you know it has now become an event that people look forward to in the community, things like that. So they weren't trying to like make it a community event over the fundraising for it. So that clarifies. I know there was a lot of discussion about that. Sorry I missed that.
Karen King of the Friends had an article in, to the Daily Item, a letter to the editor. It was really nice for, National Library Week.
yes, it was very nice.
Yeah, I'll have it as correspondence next month.
Jackie, were you at that? Was there anything that we need to be aware of if there was an alright?
Just the book sale is.
Yeah.
If everyone, the book sale is a different time this year, it's in May rather than June.
The 17th and 18th. 16th, 17th, and 18th. And there's a book drive this weekend.
Tomorrow.
Oh, maybe it's
I think
tomorrow.
it's, yeah, I think it's a weekend.
Yeah.
that they're doing. And I got my yikes. I got some note card about the sale, so I think I renewed my friendship.
Okay, gift funds.
I can't recall if I told you last month that we got a gift from the estate of Peter and Faye Vale, which went to First Financial, oh no, where did it go? No, it went to town council, for their approval. And we'll use a portion of that so they were patrons. I knew them, from bird events, they were bird watchers, they were outdoor people. And in her later years, she became, disabled somewhat. So we discovered the doors in this building are very heavy. So on one of the restroom doors on the main level, we're gonna have an automatic thing put in so that that door is automatic. So if somebody is using one of the cards or whatever, it will open automatically. And those funds we're gonna use, I think she would have liked that.
Speaking of birds, I noticed the bird thing on the Facebook page, yeah, the bird buddy, that looks great. I could see that being like a weekly check-in for me.
It took a long time for us to get a bird.
It does, they have patterns, it takes a while for them to find a new source, but once they're there, the word spreads apparently, the word chirps, and then they shall flock there.
I had them move it toward that tree too, because the birds like a place to hide. If they're too visible, they won't come to it, so. I saw a pair there, and I think they're a pair, I think they're a couple finches, and so, yeah, it should be fun. Get to watch the little movies, right?
Does it ID the birds? Does it have that capability? When it
I don't
captures a
think it
picture?
does, I don't think it does.
You could take a still photo and like run it through a Google search, right?
You
Yeah, yeah,
can,
No,
program.
so, but there's photography.
I think once we had a bunch, we could do a program.
Yeah, and there's ones like of plants, so.
yeah, I think that they're gonna do a program on bird identification.
For adults or kids or what?
For everybody, right?
It was planned by adults.
Yeah,
I think it would be a fun one.
yeah, there's lots of apps, Macaulay.
Yeah.
Cornell University has a Macaulay bird app that will identify birds for you. You put in different parameters and it will tell you, so. Yeah, there's lots of free ways to find out, so that's kind of fun then.
The Scout Fund, coming into this conversation, I was thinking, $8,000, maybe we could use that for one of the Zoom rooms, the choir rooms, whatever we're calling it, but maybe we're gonna put a pin in that for now. So I'll change my question to, is that the kind of thing that we can use the Scout Fund for, or am I misinterpreting?
The phone booths?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the trustees can decide. It was the trustees who originally, that's an unrestricted fund. And the trustees originally restricted it to technology.
Oh.
And they did that because they got that fund in 1989 and it was something that they really needed money for. And we've always thought that's a good thing to keep it to, because that's something that, if it has to go through capital planning and you need it sooner, it's good to have a source for that, and it doesn't throw off that much money. There's $8,000 there, which in the technology world is not always a lot of money.
Especially for something cutting edge like we're talking about, as opposed to, once upon a time, like an internet router was $1,000 by itself, now you can get it for like $15.
Would that cover something like a electronic sign outside?
Or maybe something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just decide what's technology at any given point in time. And those phone booths, they're quiet rooms, so that's a form of technology, and you're using it for a technological purpose. For Zoom and phones, which I think the spirit of it is to fund advances that
Yeah,
we can't keep up with if we're gonna put it through a town budget that is always a year behind.
I like that, what is technology at the time?
Yeah.
I went immediately to internet, but that's almost like plumbing.
I know.
Maybe you could argue that the automatic door,
Sure.
the technology.
Especially if it starts talking to you in AI or something.
Anticipating when you're gonna go into the room.
Anticipating your need, yeah.
But to your point, Catherine, it's a board or a trustee restricted account, which means we can unrestrict it and
Yes.
re-restrict it.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Okay. All right, anything else on gift funds? No. Okay. Next up is legislative advocacy.
I don't think there's anything new about that, is it?
The legislative days and the breakfasts are behind us at this point.
That's behind us. All the numbers are still bouncing around.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but they're not as good as they want, but they're not bad.
So outside of the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Outside of the budget, there's at least one item that we were tracking that would affect the libraries in terms of the state restricting how much publishers can charge for electronic media. Is that still on the hill somewhere?
I think it's still alive, but I don't know what the status of it is. Do you?
I went, right before the last trustees meeting, I went to a legislative session about that, and there were 3 bills currently, and they were fairly actively moving through the process, they weren't dead, but there was no timeline.
Yeah, they're trying to find something that will work. That
Oh,
won't,
yeah,
that
it's-
won't be that won't be, end up in the courts or
Yeah, it's not trivial
so.
for
Yeah,
sure, but
yeah, it's
but important.
complicated, Yeah, that would make a big difference to us. That's as important as the budget, because those are significant costs for us.
So, yeah, it's a budget multiplier.
Yeah.
So you have more, you can buy even more books and you have money to do other things.
Yeah.
All right, personnel.
I don't think there's anything on personnel.
So, let me go back to our earlier conversation. I think it's great to meeting the librarians one-on-one, kind of understanding their communication style, stuff like that. Which you're always gonna have to do with folks right out of school. But aside from new college hires, we've seen a lot of turnover of folks with a lot of different career experience, even if they've only been here for a few years, and we've seen a lot of folks come and go. We've talked about how that's true across the state too. Do you see that? Does the state see that as a one-off thing that we absorb and we level off, or is this level of churn kind of thing normal?
It's definitely, if you go by the job postings,
Yeah.
it's really slowing down. I mean, it was before like 5-10 jobs a day were going up on this board, and now it's like 1 or nothing. I mean, it doesn't seem to be churning quite as much.
Okay.
In the last like month or so.
Is it seasonal, like based on, college graduates or graduations are going on right now? Is that something that's gonna?
It used to be really, really like June, July heavy because a lot of people would like retire at the end of the fiscal year and then everything would go from there, but that doesn't, I don't think that's true anymore, do you think? It doesn't seem to be.
It doesn't seem like it. It didn't seem like there was any rhyme or reason to it.
Okay, yeah,
But there's not as much churn. I think you're right, that people have landed somewhere and now they're kind of adapting.
Okay, that's good. My sense of it had been, we had a few folks who've been here for decades. And they moved within a year and a half of each other, and then the dominoes went down, the whole rest of the chain. And then at some point it would settle down. And hopefully it does. New people bring new ideas, right? So that's,
More puzzles.
more puzzles. So, it's just a lot of work to bring in new folks.
Do they get,
Tell. She was the paperwork.
do they get interviewed for why they're leaving, perhaps? Any kind of
Oh,
exit?
yeah, an exit interview, yeah, the board has said that, make sure you always do an exit interview. Everybody's like, you know, everybody's always happy when they're leaving, like, they're leaving, so they're not gonna say anything negative, they always say, so it's tough to get, like, it's tough to get actionable
Yeah,
data.
unless they have the torch in hand and are actively burning the bridge, yes.
Right, they're pretty much not. But we like to ask, you know, what could have been different, and even the onboarding now, we're asking lots of people, you met with Miriam today. We're adding things to the onboarding based on what people are saying, it's like, you know, how did you know enough before you came, we're trying to keep it so that it works for everyone.
Yeah.
Do you ever do just a general, like, employee survey? Like
That's why I had.
an anonymous
That's,
happiness
well,
survey?
I had never done an anonymous survey before. I do one every fiscal year. Since I became director, I did one every year. And then we would have a meeting based on the results of it, but it was never anonymous. And a few people had said that they wanted something anonymous, and I didn't like that idea because I'm not anonymous. And it's hard to work with something that's anonymous. I need to know the context. But people really wanted to do it, and so we did. And for the most part, everything was good. Everything was really good, but you only need one or two things. To eat it. And there were one or two things, and they were anonymous. So I just had to send out like a general message that whoever this is, you know, you feel free to come to me because we can talk about it, and I can give you context to what that is, but I can't if it's anonymous. And of course, nobody comes because they want to be anonymous.
Right.
So it's not, my experience is the anonymous ones, and this is from past experience too, don't help you solve problems. It's a way to vent, but you can't really solve problems. You can discover if you have problems, and I feel like we have very few, which is really nice. And it should be that way because there's only 20 of us, right? There's only 25 of us, we should be able to make that work.
Yeah,
So did I even answer your question?
No, that's it. So, at work, we do anonymous surveys all the time, but we have, 160,000 employees.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very easy to vary the context, at that level, but when there's only, 24 of you in the building, it's hard to be specific with your observation at all without outing yourself. So, it seems like diminishing returns given the smaller an organization gets.
That's, yeah, I think that's.
I think you, in a small situation, you have to ask more questions about the climate than like specific. It's almost more asking like, do you feel like people are given the tools to, like, asking more vagueness is better in a situation like that because you're just getting, you're not looking for like, what's the one thing that bugs you, because again, if it's like, oh, this bell doesn't work, Jackie goes, oh, I know who that is. Like, I know who that is right away, and so, but that's hard when, you're trying, who does the exit? Is it, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like HR or somebody else who comes in and helps?
No, because they would know. One thing that did come up that a lot, and I don't know if it comes up only in, because I hear it a lot. There are a lot of staff members, and this is new, this is with all the turnover, There are a lot of staff members who would like a staff restroom. They don't like sharing a public restroom. And, you know, I go back long enough that it's a badge of honor to share your restroom with the public, because that's how we know it's in good condition. And it's also one less restroom for the custodial staff. Why should they be caring for the staff? It's a public building. If we can't use that room, our patrons can't use that room. And there are lots of people on the staff that if I said that would look at me like I had 6 heads. But we don't wanna, we want our own space. The other thing that makes it different too is that there's restrooms on every floor. There's staff on every floor. If we had only one restroom, like say where we had our staff room, which is this big, there's not that much space here. So if we had that, you'd have to leave your floor to get there. I mean, right now, if you're in the youth room, you can run into that little one and see where Adam's tile is on the wall. You can go to that little one, or you can, so it's just it's kind of a different perspective. And I understand why people want that, but I don't know, when I go to town hall restrooms are available to the public.
Yeah.
They don't have private restrooms.
All of your restrooms at this point are single stall anyways, right? So
Hmm?
all of your restrooms at this point are single stall anyways.
Yeah, they're all just single rooms. Yeah, so it's it doesn't get more private than that, they're single rooms. Cause that I would definitely understand, if you were talking about stalls, that's a whole different thing. Yeah. Anyway.
Good times.
I know.
I do think that if there's a way to do a third party to give them the questions, that you're gonna get much more honesty.
Are you volunteering?
No, I think somebody who knows enough to know that some people are gonna say things and do it, but I don't know, even, because again, like you said, you want the feedback, you wanna know if there is, you wanna fix it, but they're not. Nobody's gonna say, yes, I'm leaving because of you, right to you, right? Right, and not that I think that that's why they're leaving, but I think that it's just that some.
Oh, yeah, well, when it comes to being bad enough to leave, because that would keep me up at night. No, there isn't anyone, and I'm always, I know that Jeff has asked this question repeatedly, why are those people leaving, why are they leaving? Nobody has, as far as I can tell, not a single person has left because of me. It's always been, and like, not just because of me, but it's not because it's a bad place to work in any way. It's always that people have had other life changes, or they've always left for good reasons. So yeah, I feel good about that. It's a great place to work.
For the record, when I ask that question, I'm not blaming you.
No, I know,
It's
but
just
you wanna know, it's your job.
when they go out the door, that data's gone, right? We can only harvest the data while they're still here, so.
I know, so you wanna know.
But Adam's point about does anyone else do it in town, shouldn't, it's bigger than the library, but it seems like the town would be interested in when town employees are leaving town. Right, not just at the library, like DPW or
I don't know if that
the
many people
police or fire or.
I don't know if that many people even
Just like a
leave.
periodic
It
temperature
feels-
check,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
I
that, we've
always
seen this
ask
thing with the high
Amy
school.
that. I always feel like we're the outliers, like we have the most people, we have the most turnover, it seems like.
Well, and I think that like reasons, yeah, and I think there's probably some information that could be gleaned from that, but also reasons for people leaving from the school department jobs that have nothing to do with the town and everything to do with teacher burnout, or other things that would be interesting, but like the work across the town is so different, like what's happening maybe at the police station versus the library, maybe unrelated.
The other thing about library work is that there's only so many places to grow. So if you're looking to grow in your profession, I mean, a lot of people become a particular kind of librarian and that's what they wanna do. So, you know, somebody like Leanne, her entire career was at the reference desk because that was her thing. And she developed within that career and that's what she did. But if you're looking to be like the head of the department or, you know, if Leanne wanted to Jeff's job, that was not gonna happen. So sometimes I think if people are looking for a little more responsibility or something different, or if they don't want public service, they wanna do archiving. They might stay in the profession but wanna change, so that's why they would leave under those circumstances.
Catherine, didn't you say recently that it's not uncommon, like there's a lot of turnover in libraries right now in the
Right
area, or so?
Right now, yeah, and
Maybe-
like Jackie said, it seems to be leveling off.
So maybe that's something your area libraries want to investigate, but it's not,
Yeah.
it's not just us.
It's not just us, we know it's not just us, it is,
That might be a noble survey.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's within the profession.
I just think it's weird that like it's not normal to have the manager do the exit, right? Like it's not. It's usually a third party that reports the data back.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Because for your sake, right? You come and tell us it wasn't me, I swear. But to have a third party be like, yeah, it wasn't, I'm not, we're being, dramatic about it.
Well, I can usually tell because, because of what the other reason is.
The other reason is if there was somebody that there was actual personnel issues with, and that person did the exit interview with HR.
Right.
Now you're creating now you're singling that person out for this. I don't know, whether it's you doing it for the senior center and the senior center does it for you, just to have a neutral person just to ask the question. You know what I mean, like that, it makes a big difference.
Maybe a trustee should do it.
Yes.
I think
I'd love that.
I think Adam.
Adam's volunteering a lot tonight.
No good idea goes unvolunteered.
I would
Yeah,
love
I
that.
would love it.
I would love it.
Yeah. Cause I think it has to be somebody who has an idea of how we operate. So you know what kind of questions to ask.
We do have a personnel subcommittee.
Yes, you have a personnel subcommittee, and it is
And
it is a different kind of thing, because it's public service. It's different from some of the other things that they do in town.
Okay, anything else with personnel? Any go backs on the committee reports? Moving on to new business, we have a line for blossoms, but nothing in the packet.
No, just put it there in case we had anything to talk about, because it's upon us. It's Saturday night.
I bought my tickets this morning.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
This person's glaring at me.
Oh, no, no, well, he's also on Blossoms committee, so it's just a tough week for us. Maybe a tough
We're
month.
spinning.
Maybe a tough month. So, it's an interesting phenomenon, I think, that last year, people were rushing to get in. But the event itself was very different after 3 years of not being able to function. But it was a fabulous party. So this year things are different, and we have a couple of stumbling blocks. One of which that the Celtics are on at 3 for a playoff, and the Bruins are on at 8. We looked into maybe streaming the games. It cannot be done here, although that's not really the vibe we want, but we could put it in a small space. Because of the streaming, they don't have TV, they have streaming systems, so that's not, and I don't know how much that's has affected ticket sales or not, but that's one thing that's very different this year than whenever it was before. So pretty much everything's done for Blossoms. We don't have any new additions, kind of the same old. The theme is garden party, which can be anything you interpret, a little more casual than some of the past years. That was a library request that they came up with that, which I think is perfect fit because it is Blossoms, so it's getting back to its roots a little bit. So it's gonna be a fabulous party, that's our story, and we're sticking to it, correct?
Absolutely, I did, however, hear a lot of couples became singles.
Yeah.
Attending the evening. So, I have seen a few of those.
Is that a climate survey we need to do in Wakefield?
Yes.
Exit interviews for Boston.
The good news is that if you have already bought a ticket and are not able to attend for whatever dramatic reason, you can still, once you have a ticket, you can bid even from home. You can look at the items and whatnot. And we encourage everyone who is going to purchase, drink tickets and stuff like that ahead of time. Makes check-in much easier for you and for them. So we do have, and we have an interesting twist on the bar this year. There's a local distillery and the owner, is the owner correct?
Yes.
Is actually a Wakefield resident.
Great,
Grand
And
Ten.
10.
Grand
Yes.
Ten. Oh, see, very familiar. They are doing 4 specialty batch cocktails for us. So even getting a drink is going to be a little bit easier if you pick one of those. And then there will be some mixers if you want, just a try.
Some of their straight spirits.
So he, very generously has worked with us in doing that. So that's gonna be different. We always created a specialty event, which was, time consuming for the bartenders and whatnot. And we just may enjoy alcohol, but we're not really in the field. So what we may have come up with might not have been a, seller for other people. So that will be interesting. He will also be in attendance. He's, and bringing people for that. So I'm sure he will be around to ask any questions about his business and whatnot. So that's a little bit different twist. We have, the one thing that we can't say proudly is that, or I can say proudly, is that Christopher Barrett did the lion's share of the actual business sponsorships, which is something we would always encourage. And we are at just shy of the $26,000 in just sponsorship, which is a new record for Blossoms, and thanks to Chris.
Well, no, it's nice.
Thanks to 95% Chris, and I'm gonna say that, and I don't hear anyone else talking. So, so it's gonna be a really good event. I hope you can attend, and next month we'll tell you all the wonderful things that happened.
Yes.
We will. Excellent.
Well,
Looking forward to it.
we'll have a lot of fun. I mean, there's one of the reasons why we made it from 2007 to now, aside from how good the staff is to us and how much work they actually commit to this, is we have a lot of fun. And people come and have a great time, and it's a great atmosphere, and to be able to come in here and have a good time and not have it be a quiet library and have a band and cocktails and flower show, it's truly a unique event, and I think if you look across, the state, I don't think you can find another one that is anything like this. And because of that, it has become and remained that successful. Because of that, people do want to spend money and do want to donate to the cause.
So I think it is a great Wakefield tradition, and I tried to downplay a little bit that it's a fundraiser, because that can be good or bad. So, but we have, great support, and now come have a good time. So, not too good a time, but a good time, right?
It's a community event.
It is,
Oh, well, it's
well, it is, I like to say,
Working for the community.
after volunteering, which seems like 100 years, you do something once in Wakefield and it becomes a tradition if it's that. And
Yeah,
so,
it takes one.
yeah, so that's a blessing and a burden, but it's gonna be great. And the weather for once looks like it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
We don't always have that.
No, it seems like it, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I knocked wood. And did a little novena earlier.
On Jim McBain's table.
Because Saturdays has not been a great record so far, but
And we did not turn over the AC.
that's on you, Catherine.
you guys
Only
turn it over
because it's
before
been
Saturday?
38 degrees
I
now.
think we're not going to. We'll just open some windows
Yeah.
and stuff. I talked to Dave about it, he really didn't want to. And tonight there's gonna be a freeze.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 38 tonight and probably.
It wasn't-
Monday it'll be 32. the day after
It
tomorrow.
wasn't even a discussion because it has been so cold.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 38 this morning.
But I think it will be okay.
You done fire pits,
We do not have fire pits this year. The fire pits we used to have are no longer available. And last year we had, the propane ones, which person who lent them to us, they both broke. But it is a garden party, and on the plaza, weather permitting, which looks good, it will be like cornhole. And I know it's dark, but we have lights for them.
nice.
So hopefully it'll be nice to go outside.
Who has the lights?
Suzanne donated, she bought them, and I brought them to Megan.
Okay, so
It's
they-
3 sets of this 3 cornhole. Who else would I bring them to? Of course I brought them to Megan. To keep track of, cause I know it will happen. Alright, so thank you, I hope you all come and have a good time.
And the auction is live now if we wanna, or is there more getting at it?
It doesn't actually become live until that night, I believe, but not all of the items are up. We're a little behind on some of that, there are some, so it may not be until the very.
They're bid. They're just not all bid.
No, I don't think you're not supposed to be able to bid and
Just saying I need a quart of firewood for the 3rd time in a row, so.
was it Keith's Trees? I don't think we've heard from Keith's Trees this year.
Yeah.
Wanna give him a call?
Are you gonna get your food?
I know.
My
You
husband
wanna
gets
give
on
him a
that every
call?
year.
I thought it couldn't go live until the night of the event, but I'm not sure. Maybe we didn't know the answer to that.
It's possible, there is a bid on something,
Oh, so then you can.
so.
In the past, it has been, but also in the past, we were a little more set
Yeah.
at this point in
Yeah,
time.
it's possible that it was on and got shut off or whatever.
We were a little fluid.
It'll be on by Saturday.
I haven't even claimed my ticket yet, so I don't know this stuff. I didn't. Okay, well, thank you for letting me
Excellent.
speak about it.
Great, should be a good time.
Yes.
Alright, next item is strategic planning.
So the only reason I put this here is because I wanted to let you know that our strategic plan is due to the state by October 1st. But we hope to have the bulk of it to you by next meeting. And then if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, we would have the June meeting to do it. But we're hoping to be able to submit it before, like after June, but earlier. Rather than have it wait. Jackie and I have found that if you do it in one fell swoop, it's easier than if you space it out over time. Because we've done all the data work right now and it's fresh in our minds. So to let it go all summer, it just really doesn't make that much sense. So if we can make the time to do it, and get it all together, we will. The data that we got was pretty good and I thought it was pretty interesting and we'll work with that to see what we can come up with for ideas for what we should focus on for the next 5 years. But I already know that probably one of the number one things is gonna be staff development and staff training. There's gonna be a big staff component. And part of that is because the data that we pulled up showed that the tenure is so different from what, the average, in 2017, the average year or the mid-year or whatever or the most frequent year was 17 years, people were here for 17 years. Now the most frequent number is 0, you've just been hired. So we lost all kinds of, the long-term people are me and Dave and Patricia. There's a handful of people, but there really are a lot of new people. And we've just lost some of that sense of what, sometimes I don't even realize that when I say something, somebody isn't coming from the same place that I am. They don't have that backstory. They don't know who Cheryl Scott is and why, we're careful with our upholstery. There's just all little things that are getting lost that if we pass along would be important. And I also think, and the town is thinking this way too, we always have to think in terms of succession management. And when we had people leave and, you know, the head of tech services left, and she had everything nicely labeled and everything. But we had somebody who really struggled, and the staff was starting from scratch because they hadn't been working on it from the get-go. So to have people, you know, if I get hit by the proverbial bus, Jackie has everything she needs. She pretty much, you know, would curse me for saving so much paper, but she would be able to find everything she needs. And we need that for everyone. And we're not really there yet, so those things will do. But we'll have that all between May and June. And then we'll have a better idea of the things that are gonna be important going forward.
Well, it's funny, the phrase common knowledge apparently doesn't exist anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's for 10 years.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. One of the custodians tonight was telling me he used a term at work, you can lead a horse to water, and the person you talked to had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, I always thought that was a common thing, and it's not. Yeah. So there's lots of little things like that.
Yeah, if you have a middle schooler, you learn new words every day.
Yeah, but see, I need to know all those words.
So I don't believe it.
We need to, it
It's like
is
a
totally
generational, was it Boys and Girls Club? Somebody just, or maybe it was a Girl Scout group. Somebody just did an event with the senior center where they paired up, was it you guys?
We do, yes.
Paired
Oh,
up
yeah.
people, like a child with a senior and they,
Tech, teen, elder, computer help.
was it computer, okay.
That's the acronym is tech. Yeah, they do. Teenagers go to the senior center.
Yeah,
Was there a story thing too that was done recently?
that's, I think,
I don't know.
tell your story.
And I don't know if that was with veterans or.
That was probably Remember Right, maybe, or
It might have been
Yeah,
to right, yeah, but there wasn't a thing with children and older people telling stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did a survey that was specifically for youth, did you know that? I didn't even send that to you, did I? So your kids probably didn't do it. It's hard to get stuff out. But we had somebody from the youth, council, action team, not the council, youth counselor who helped us get it out. And we got really interesting information. And one of the things that was interesting was, the first question was that we wanted to know your favorite book, movie, and music. And it was all over the map. You know, like 60 or 70 kids answered. And you did see Taylor Swift more than once, but that was probably the only one. It was all over the map, and some of them were older. Yeah. I was really surprised that the movies, like they even went back to old movies, and there was not a commonality to it. Different genres, they just all really liked something different, which I loved, but also wondered about.
But it was in the programming, that One Up, the video games with One Up program, again, was something else that seemed really successful, and I had no idea what that was. I read it in the description of the set of VR headsets.
That was part of it.
Okay. Which I have no idea how to use, something like you could pair me up with a child and they can teach me technology, Lucas showed me Instagram things, so. Really cross generation.
Kevin, do you think that speaks to how, there was a time where there were 3 TV stations, people were getting their news and entertainment all from the same place. Now it's like all these different streaming services, so there's a lot more personalized, customized content that even young readers, people are finding. So it's.
I wondered about that, and I also wondered about if in a good way, it's because you're not putting yourself in a category. I remember being young and everybody liked the same thing because you didn't want to be different. I remember my son saying, I wanna be different just like everyone else. And that's sort of like what teenagehood is all about. And I'm wondering if the kids are now separated in a way that they have their own environments in their phones and in the streaming and, you know, those kids who loved that old stuff, is it because they heard they got tips from their parents or,
I
yeah.
guarantee you it's not because of their parents, but it's because, but they have, you know, it's tribal, which is, you know, it used to be like, oh, when you finally left your hometown, you finally found your tribe or you found people. But like, you know, but now they can do that virtually, which is positive because you have kids who, maybe I was the only kid who liked this in my hometown, but now I can realize it's a whole community, but it's also negative because it's siloing, right? So I'm the only kid who knows about this in my whole, and I can't talk to anybody, so it's almost that loneliness part of it too, but it is, like, we see in our music room, you would think it's like all done, but like, when they pick the artists today, I'm always like, you guys know who that is? Like, it's always, I go back to the 50s, the 60s, like all the way up through, like, and because it's somebody on YouTube or somebody on TikTok saying, hey, this song and do that, and it's not their parents, it's me, you know, it's the influencers that get to them in different ways.
Like when we were kids, you know, for movies, you go to Blockbuster and you pick a category before you pick a movie. So you're sort of locked into, okay, I like comedies, I'm gonna watch comedies, or you go to the record CD store, cassette store, what have you. And everything was done by categories, but now, like my kids both have Spotify accounts. So Spotify is telling them what they're going to like. Oh, you liked this Taylor Swift song, you might love this song from 1983. All of a sudden, my kids are in the 80s. Same with the streaming movies. You know, Netflix, you liked this, so you might like this, this, and this. So I feel like it's feeding them suggestions of things that are outside of strict categories.
Yeah.
So it does impact trying to do programming that appeals to a broad range of their own very niche interests. It's a challenge opportunity.
Yes, it's a challenge opportunity. So I have the sense we just have to understand what that is. You know, Adam has a real understanding of it because he's with kids all the time and he's seeing how that is.
I think the hardest thing
Probably
for
thought
them
about it a little
is
more.
they don't learn how to build friendships anymore. They don't learn how to sit around a table and become friends with somebody. They learn how to interact with people, they know how to do that. They know how to chat with somebody, they know how to text with somebody. They don't learn how to build friendships because it's much more transactional social relationships now. It's just, and that's where you get the loneliness stuff that we're seeing, is that kids are in school all day with their peers and super lonely because they don't have any meaningful relationships with any of their peers. Because their meaningful relationships are with YouTube people and stuff like that.
So see, that's the opportunity.
Right, and that's something
how
that,
you peer people, you like this
Yeah, how do you get to the point?
so that's like, I know Casey does a great job with her Dungeons and Dragons programming and stuff, and that's an example of you're taking kids, you're making them sit around a table and you're making them interact with each other on a deep level, but I think that's why you see programs like that. The kids crave so many things like that because they don't get to actually, other than school, you know, they don't, they're so scheduled, they're so like, they don't get that creative like outlet time as much.
Or like
I could go on for this forever, so the library wants to close, so.
BBCon takes the virtual entertainment world that they know, you know, comics and movies and then puts it as a live, you know, brings it to interact, and it's such a successful event, I mean, it's bigger and bigger every year. That, you know, if you had a Taylor Swift party, I guarantee they would come.
I think Reading
Reading.
does it. Reading does it.
But I think the power of BBCon is like, again, like I said, the paradigm used to be, I know what everybody in my town likes, but I like this other thing, but I have to pretend to like the thing that everybody else likes, right? Now it's well, the thing that I like, only the people on internet like, nobody likes it, but then when you show up and go, oh, there's other kids in my town that like these things too, maybe I should talk to them, maybe I should actually do that. That is really powerful to be able to go, oh, this is actually local. It's not just online, it's not as, you know, it's a local thing that there are other kids who are in my school who like this as well, right? So.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot to think about. But it was very useful. And there were 2 women who participated in a non-user group forum. There were 10 or 12 people who signed up and only 2 showed up. And none of them had any idea about anything. And both of them ended up coming in for a tour. and liked what they saw and thought they would end up using services. Yeah, so it's been fun and now we just have to figure it out. And that's all I've got, so we'll have a busy meeting next time, because that will be
Committee assignments.
committee assignments and all of that, yeah.
I'll be virtual next month. From Punta Cana.
You'll be right there, where will you be?
Punta Cana.
Okay,
I'll be right there.
and you have to,
With palm
you
tree
have to
back.
show your background, yeah.
It's a work trip.
Okay, anything else? Items not reasonably anticipated by the chair? All right, very good. If that's all, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, we will take a vote. Susan?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Laura? Dan?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Adam? Scott?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, it passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.